Welcome. There is no doubt that Genghis Khan was one of the greatest leaders throughout history, whether he was a butcher who killed millions of people or a just ruler as some few accounts tell, and between this and that there is one fact about him, which is the disappearance of his gravesite until the present time. From China to Russia to the rest of the outskirts of the Mongolian Empire, which extended over millions of kilometers, Genghis Khan's tomb has not been found until today. This is what Genghis himself wanted, as he ordered his soldiers to kill everyone who attended his funeral in order to hide the location of his grave. More than 2,000 people were killed in cold blood just to keep their burial place a secret. What are the details of that massacre, and why is it so difficult for us to find Genghis Khan's tomb today? This is what we will know together in this video, so stay with us. When you walk into a funeral, of course, you will not expect to be buried with this deceased, unless he counts about 2,000 people who attended the funeral of Genghis Khan and got themselves killed. Just as I heard the killing and not fulfilling the man who ordered their killing is the same deceased stranger, right? None were deceased. He is the most famous Mongolian warrior in history, Genghis Khan. His funeral in the year 1227 turned into a real massacre. A new massacre that he ordered even after his death, and he was not satisfied with the millions of people who were killed during the establishment of his vast empire? Here comes the most important question. Why did Genghis Khan order the killing of those who attended his funeral? The answer is simply he followed the example of his fathers and his tribe in the Mongolian burial. They did not allow anyone to know the location of their grave after death. So Genghis Khan did what he imagined was right from his point of view. 2,000 innocent people who attended the funeral and 200 soldiers were killed by order of Genghis Khan. What is the origin of this massacre? You may imagine that that day was the ugliest day in the history of Genghis Khan's rule, but after knowing that he killed about 40 million people during his rule, you must be sure that the day of his funeral was the most merciful day in his era. Temujin, who was born in a Mongolian tribe in the month of May of the year 1162, is said to have arrived in our world on the palm of his hand and fever in the form of a blood clot, which is an auspicious sign for the Mongolians of the advent of a great leader. They poisoned him and displaced the 9-year-old Temujin and seized his father's rule. Temujin, accompanied by his mother and sisters, succeeded in escaping from their enslavement and declared himself in the year 1206 the indomitable Mongolian ruler and began establishing his empire that extended over an area of 23 million square kilometers, a kingdom that included Russia, China, Hungary, Bulgaria, Poland, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Korea, Burma, India, Iraq, Iran, and Turkey. Have you ever heard of such a country? Perhaps that vast area, along with the massacre on the day of his funeral, which he ordered, is the real reason behind our current ignorance of the tomb of one of the greatest and most famous rulers in history, but the story has more details. The Mongolian emperor not only concealed from us the location of his body, but even today we do not know the exact cause of death. There are those who say that he was killed in one of the battles against the Chinese kingdom in western India, and others say that he was stabbed by one of his slave girls, and between this and that the truth is still unknown. In any case, Genghis Khan died, and the army transferred his body to Mongolia, where he was born. Here we encounter many contradictions. For example, some legends say that Genghis's body was not moved in the first place, that the coffins that were moved were empty, and that his body remained in China where he died, and the aim is to deceive the world and not tell anyone where his grave is. In another narration, it is said that Genghis Khan, besides committing the massacre that we mentioned, he ordered 1,000 horses to be brought to trample the ground to remove any trace of his grave. And there are those who went further and claimed that Genghis changed the course of the river to hide his grave, while the most extreme theory claims that the tomb of Genghis Khan is cursed and was hidden by good spirits to protect the world, as if his grave is found, our world will end. Centuries ago, researchers did not benefit from any historical texts or evidence until we reached the technological age and industrial development. What is easier than finding someone's grave by satellite, right? But since Genghis Khan has followed more than one way to hide his tomb, researchers should search for man-made talismans in the ground, which may lead them to the tomb of Genghis Khan. Indeed, National Geographic has recruited thousands of people to give any evidence leading to the discovery of the location of the tomb, so it has reached about 2,500,000 potential sites. It was classified into 100 most likely sites, and then examined on the ground, so that the project failed in the end, because the tomb was not found in any of the sites. The task of the researchers. This prompted the researchers to narrow the scope of the search, so the choice was made to boycott Kedah, which was the area of residence of Genghis Khan during his rule and is approximately equivalent to the size of Austria. It is still like looking for a needle in a haystack. You are literally searching for the unknown, and given Genghis' attachment to his ancestors, he may have taken an example from them in regards to burial ceremonies. This means that he was buried in a wooden tomb at a depth of 20 meters below the surface of the earth, similar to the burial of the Mongolians for their dead, which makes the task more and more difficult. In the name of Prakina Kwandan, it is located on the Kennedy mountain range, where it is said that Genghis Khan had once taken refuge in it and promised that he would return to it again after his death. What increases the possibility of the validity of this theory is placing that area under strict security and preventing the public from accessing it and considering it one of the most important UNESCO sites. Therefore, no researcher was able to excavate inside it, but perhaps one of them will be able to do so in the near future, and he will be the owner of the credit.